Welcome, everybody. I'm Rick DiClemente of Star Self Astrology, and this is Astrology Unplugged, where we talk about all kinds of different issues that are astrological, related issues, collective issues, current affairs, etc. And near the end of the evening, the last half hour, I like to stop and focus on one person's chart, at least generally, to keep showing people every week how a chart is done. And tonight's guinea pig is Karen D, who's not here yet, but I'm sure she will join us. And if she doesn't show up, we will be dealing with Barbara. And I hope I have your chart. I think I've read for you, right? Okay, all right. I can't keep track. Okay, tonight's subject is Cancer. I have given tremendous thought to the sign of Cancer. It is by far the enigma of the zodiac. It's very complex. I understand it. It is far different than any other sign. Of course, you could say that about any sign. It is a very difficult sign to be. I'm going to be explaining to you what the natal issues are with cancers, what it's like to be a Cancer person, what it's like to be around a Cancer person, what it's like when you have a lot of Cancer in your chart. You don't even have to be the sun sign. Part 2 of the evening, I promised you I'm going to talk about lunations. I'm going to talk about full moons, new moons, eclipses. Lunations are full moons, new moons, solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, how they work, why they're different from each other, how they work. Part 3 will be going into an individual's chart. So it's nice to see you all, and here's to you. See, new moon today. I never follow the things because they're so relatively minor, but I should, and they're not always minor. Sometimes they're major. But you'll notice since I stopped writing my articles and itemizing each day what the planets are doing, I am not as well versed as I should be. New moons are triggers, so that would tell me that today the new moon's somewhere near the very end of Taurus. Okay, now, when we finished writing The Exquisite Zodiac, I was being too narrow-minded, and I was looking at the first quadrant of the zodiac as the elemental part. Aries, the fire. Taurus, the earth. Gemini, the air. So I was dealing with this quadrant, and there's a whole chapter in this book about the stuff of mankind, the stuff, your zest, your life, your stuff, your things, your thoughts, your mind. Well, then Liza made me realize that these 4 signs, not the first 3, but the first 4, are like each element. Now, remember, I'm talking very detailed about the archetype of each sign. You may have an uncle Cancer that's a little different than the rest, and you may have an aunt that's a Taurus that's different from the rest. But when I talk about these signs, I'm talking about the pure essence that's inside of them, that they all share. So when you look, the Aries is really all fire. Go, go, go. Don't get in my way, please. I got to go, go, go. That's simple. Hello, Patricia Sharp. Hello. Speaking of Tauruses, Taurus is very earthy. They're down to earth. They're plugged into the earth. They're very happy out in their garden. Gemini, up in the air. Talking, looking, exploring, talking, looking, exploring. So I got to the sign of Cancer, which is 4th, and it didn't fit. So I had to quit. So I started to think about this age-old matchup of Cancer being the mother of the zodiac. And opposite the zodiac, the father, Capricorn. Made a lot of sense. So I started giving a lot of thought, and my head started shaking all by itself. I kept saying, no, they're not the mother of the zodiac. They are the mother, but they're not. They are, but they're not. And I had a real quandary to figure out. And that's what's called the moon. The moon is so complicated. The moon is the ruler of Cancer. Everything you've ever heard all your life, the moon is weird. The word Luna comes from the moon. It's absolutely critical because it represents your emotional nature. Listen to the things the moon represents because it's so complex. It can represent so many things. This is not made up. These qualities and key words that you hear about planets and signs are discovered through people watching them through years. They tell us. The moon, the second most important planet, it's not even a planet. Doesn't have any light, it reflects light. It's the feminine. It's your emotions. It's your couch. It's your family. It's your land. It's your history. It's your background. It's your tradition. It's the family. It's the feelings. It's your habits. It's your reactions. It's the public itself. So you have to be very knowledgeable when you treat the moon. And the moon won't be treated. The moon is not evasive like Mercury is and Gemini and Sag are. But you can't grab it because it's not logical. It's not logical. The sun is logical. The moon is not logical. It's illogical. And I tell my clients, my Cancer clients, if you got people telling you quit being so moody, just tell them to go take a hike because you can't stop being moody. You just are moody. You're not controlled by control. You're not controlled by your mind. You're not controlled by intellect and by discipline. You're controlled by your feelings. When you're with a Cancer, they don't care what you think, what you did, what you're doing. They want to know how you feel. Honey, do you feel okay? Honey, do you feel okay? You've all got relatives like that. Thank God we got the moon. The moon is the mother. Honey, do you feel okay? Sensitive, do you feel okay? I'm muting all the signs, all the logins, because if not, we get feedback. Certainly, if you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. I do not have the time to answer the chat box, so I rely upon John to keep his eye on the chat box in case something comes up. Suzanne, am I going to keep you awake, dear? You look tired tonight. You're probably doing too much. The moon is really, really, really critical. And the moon has to be well balanced in a chart or you got trouble. When I see somebody that just isn't happy, and no matter what you do, they're not happy, it can be a lot of reasons. But more often than not, their moon is troubled. This can come from past life. It can come from abuse. It can come from being around a morose parent or two morose parents. Whatever, but the moon is really critical. Your sun-moon relationship is important. And this is why you see two people together, you go, oh, they're an odd couple, and they get along great. And that's because their moons get along fine. Guaranteed. The moon is what you're comfortable with. It's a very hard planet to talk about. Very difficult. I want to see a raise of hands if you've got Cancerian type people, either Cancers or people with strong moons around you that you have to deal with, and it's not always easy. Let me see the hands. Not that many, huh? Okay, all right. Would Liza nail this? When we're writing the book and we got to the 4th chapter of Cancer, she named the chapter Splashdown, which was brilliant. Because remember, the book is how one sign transcends and transforms from the previous sign. And coming out of Gemini and coming out of Mercury, we go into the sign of Cancer and we splash down into the ocean. And what were the original capsules called? Gemini and Mercury. But the point is, at the soul level, the soul finds itself swimming in the water. If not, it sinks. The soul finds itself swimming in the water, of which it's never been before. It's never been in the water before. And it will sink. And it's scared to death that it's going to sink. That's the key to Cancer. Well, if I threw you in the water, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to hang on to something, anything, somebody, some board, the edge of the pool, whatever. You don't know, but you're hanging on. This is where the instinctive part of Cancer comes out that's so prevalent. Not all of them, where they hang on. They're dependent. They hang on to you. They hang on to their mother. Cancers come to my office for a reading. They bring their mother with them. Common. This is not a judgment. There are Cancers out there that are very independent. There are Cancers out there that are very strong. There are Cancers that are very weak. Much depends in the Cancer's chart on where the sun is, where the moon is. When the sun is high in the chart, born during the daytime, they're usually stronger, more independent. When it's below, born at nighttime, they're usually more dependent. Not a fast rule, but a general rule. When their moon is in a fiery sign, like Aries, Leo, Sag, they usually do really well. Because remember, their moon is like a second sun sign. It's so important to them. When Cancers have walked into my office, they have an invisible line across their forehead, a neon blinking light that says, "Please don't hurt me." Please don't hurt me. It's not all Cancers, but you have to understand Cancer is known for being hypersensitive, and they don't understand any other way because it's the first sign of the zodiac that gets feelings. Well, if I dipped you into the vat that said feelings and pulled you out, and you're all one big nerve of feelings, no wonder they're so sensitive. And Cancers are all about one thing. They cannot stand the thought of being abandoned. America's a Cancer. It plays a huge role in this country. I'll be telling you how. Do you see now the Cancers you know? Can you see that quality, John? Can you see it, Jessica? Nobody knows any Cancers. Okay, you can see it. Let me give you some examples. I'm giving you archetypal examples of personalities that are famous, that are Cancerian, because I want you to see that childlike quality in there. And in the book, I stated that each sign is like a certain stage of deliberately. Well, it's not, it can be deliberate, sometimes it's not.
I avoid Cancers.
Okay, well, I can understand it, but you got to remember a lot of them are wonderful, and what's more important is to understand the issue. And what's weird is you're a Taurus, and usually Cancer's best match of the zodiac is Taurus. I'm not getting lost in that now. Think of these Cancer people, get the feeling from them. The best one I can give you is Lady Diane. And I told you in the book that Cancers are like 11-year-olds, 10 years old. They're the one at the Spencer gift store. They're childlike. Gilda Radner's a perfect example. They're very childlike, and you like them because they're childlike. And even when they get older, they're still childlike. Look at how tough and vicious and tenacious. Who was the fighter? Mike Tyson is. Don't you sense how childlike he is? He's childish. Like a little kid. Would knock your head off. Liv Tyler. Look at that pure look of child innocence in her. Look at Kevin Bacon, Anne Frank, Cat Stevens, Richard Simmons. Robin Williams is a great example. Don Knotts, Sofia Vergara. Red Skelton, the Dalai Lama, is the perfect example of the positive qualities of Cancer. He's very caring. He's very innocent. He doesn't want to hear all this stuff. He just wants to be kind and make sure you feel okay. Why do you think Trump keeps talking about two words? Trump's a Gemini. His moon is in Sag. He's got a deadly Mars in Leo, huge ego. But at the center of Trump's chart is Venus, Saturn, and Cancer. That's the problem. Yeah, I don't get treated right. You treat me unfair. I'm not treated right. You treat me unfair. They treat me well. They don't treat me well. They treat me well. They don't treat me well. Everything is looked at in terms of how I'm treated. And it can change in a minute depending on who treats you good or not. So, the difficulty with Cancer is they're born dependent. Not all of them, but they're born dependent. Yes, they can be great mothers, but how, I ask, can they be the mother of the zodiac when there's only the fourth sign and the personality doesn't start getting put together generally until the fifth sign of Leo? So here's the age-old answer. When you take a look here, how can the personality start being put together in Leo and Virgo? How can Cancer be the mother when the self is just being put together? The elements of the self are put together with pride and dignity, and assimilated and pounded together and purified in the fire of Virgo. So how can Cancer be the mother? Well, the answer is this, and this will explain a lot to you. Cancers are the mother and they're the child. They're the mother and they're the child. How many people do you know, for whatever reason, had to go back and mother their parents? Young kids had to be the mother. Cancers, many of them, cannot handle life. It's too intense. It's too harsh. There are too many people that treat them badly. There are too many people that hurt their feelings. Cancer is Asperger's. Cancer is autism. It is a Cancerian thing. This is not a judgmental thing. And this leads me to a great realization that I fought off for years. In a way of speaking, I'll get flack for this. In a manner of speaking, the other 11 signs of the zodiac are here to take care of them. When you get objective and you get neutral and you really take a look at it, you ever have these people in your family that you got to tiptoe around, Uncle Jim, Aunt Sally, you just got to not upset them. Whatever's going on, you just whisper to each other, take it easy, walk around on eggs. Everybody's walking around on eggs because you can't upset this person. This person's right in the middle, the ones that are irritating Patricia, and they're controlling everything. And sometimes they're consciously or unconsciously manipulating and using guilt to keep everybody moving around because they're being taken care of. Many of them are the opposite. Many of them are very, very good and very strong. Cancer is about I take care of myself. This is what's wrong with America. And Trump's saying, we got to become #1 again. Well, have we ever not been? I can't get to you for a minute, Erica. Hold on. The zodiac. I take care of myself. There has to be a stage in the zodiac where the self takes care of themselves. And opposite the Capricorn, we, me, and we, me, and we. Capricorn is I take care of all of us. I'm the father. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to people's homes and people have wanted me to leave. Well, they liked me and I liked them, but they wanted me to leave. And here the mom and the dad are both cancers. They want me to leave so they can shut the door and have their bubble that's safe. They want to be in their safe bubble. This is what's wrong with America. No matter where our moon is in Aquarius and we have this Statue of Liberty, we're just in this myth over here that nothing's going to bother us. Nothing can touch us. Well, after 9/11, we learned otherwise, and now we have created, by default, we have created the terrorists because they have no other way to get to us. I'm not condoning it, but we are hyper-defended. This is our #1 issue. There's no money for health insurance. Why do you think that is? Because it's all going to defense. We're over-defended. As I've written about, and the Course in Miracles states so clearly, a country that is vulnerable will succeed. One that is invulnerable will not. You can't just keep crawling in your little hole. So, I get a lot of Cancer people who just can't understand why they're not popular. They cannot understand why people are always attacking them. I know a person, I know a woman that had all these friends, good people. They kept asking about her. They wanted to see her. They wanted to be with her. No matter what I said to this person, no matter what, this one woman would not come out. She would not open up. She would not listen. She didn't want any friends. Why? Well, she wanted friends, but she didn't want the risk, but she had no trust. So what happens, the reason cancers, this is pure Course in Miracles, the reason cancers get attacked all the time, it's a response to the cancer being the attacker. If I walk in Jessica's apartment or her house, and I've got this written across my head, I don't trust you, I don't trust you, I don't trust you. You get a room full of people, I don't trust you, I don't trust you. The natural response of all the people around you is they're going to feel attacked. But the cancer doesn't realize that they're doing it. The cancer is really saying, don't anybody attack me, but people are sensitive. People pick up on that. Then people attack back, the second part, and it's seen as they're the attacker. There's the problem. Attack first so I can't be attacked. That's a hell of a way to do it. I've done surveys with people, and who's the favorite signs of the zodiac? And the least favorites of the zodiac were the Cancers and the Capricorns. I was shocked, but they're both based on the same thing. Both signs have trouble being trusting. Now you go into the next scenario. We come back and visit you next Thanksgiving. I walk in the house, Jessica, and I got this whole new mood. I'm going to be fun and happy and trust everybody. How's everybody doing? Good. Everybody's going to sit there and look at each other and say, what the heck got into him? He's not attacking anymore. When I tell Cancers this story, they are shocked. They can't believe they've been doing it all this time. And that's why the Course says we are always attacking each other at all times, all of us, which is a little subtler. Now, what was your question, Alexa? Where did you go? There you are, Erica. I'm sorry.
I was just going to make a comment that it's been a well-known thing in astrology that if a woman gets into a relationship with a Cancerian man, she better be used to him running to mommy all the time.
Well, that's very common. It's not always true, but it's very, very common. Yes, and you have to find out and dig and find out that's true.
And the other thing is, Italian men in Italy, I mean, they keep going to the mother,
of course,
even after they're married for dinner. What's with that?
Well, it's just the way that culture is based on the Holy Mother and all that. I've been in Italy. I've seen that. When they talk, they'll be 50, 60 years old. They talk to their mom. They talk like this. Oh, Mama. They do. It's a wonderful thing, and it's a sad thing. Cancer is the sign of codependency. Where is that line between, it's the same with the mother that has the child. How many mothers have children that are really separate? I ask you, Suzanne, how many mothers have children where they bless the kid and they teach the kid to go on their way versus you stay around, you take care of mommy because mommy won't have anybody when you leave, which is an awful thing. That's the difference. That is the difference. That's what I had to write about at the end of the book. The Cancer who's using the child. It's my baby. Well, it's your baby, yeah, but it's not your baby. So there, the karmic ties with Cancerian energy are so thick. Susan Aver, you had a question? You are muted.
Yeah, I have my first husband, my father, and my closest friend, all cancers, but none of them typical cancers.
Well, that's common.
But because of the other energy in their chart, we all get along great. And supposedly Sagittarius and Cancers, no, not at all.
You can't go by your sun sign. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful, and that can be many, 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 many reasons. I have to stick myself to the subject of just cancers. Now, I knew a Cancer once who, when she was home, she was a domestic goddess. Just so pleasant, making sandwiches, hot chocolate for everybody. But when she went out in the world, she was uptight and kind of tough, and people were afraid of her because it's that Cancer shell. You got to remember, Cancers are very, very sensitive. Look at Robin Williams. What a perfect example. What a perfect example of a Cancer. You knew he was a bleeding, injured child all the time. He was doing all these acts to be accepted, etc. Well, you knew inside he was very, very damaged, as we find out the nth degree, you know. A couple more statements before I move on. There's a side that's very underrated. They're not all lame and tame. Some of them are ferocious. And that's the mothering instinct, like when you get near the mother bear. And that's where you get your James Cagney. That's where you get your Jack Lambert. That's where you get your John Waynes. They're can be very, very tough. A lot of athletes are incredibly intense.
How about Sarah Palin?
Sarah Palin's an Aquarian with
well, she's the one who was talking about the bear, Mama Bear, all the time.
No, she's got the goofy sun Uranus. She is a very twisted Aquarian.
Hey, Rick?
Yeah.
I have a very karmic connection to Cancer men. I've had 2 relationships. They were both born in June 28th, and they were 4 or 5 year relationships. And I was considered archetype of mother to them.
That's because your moon is so strong rising. It's because the position of your moon. I don't care what sign the moon was in. You broadcast this feeling that, honey, I will take care of you. That's what you broadcast. And it's very typical to broadcast that at a time when you're not yet having high self-esteem. As you grow with self-esteem, those lunar qualities die off because you don't want that energy around you anymore. The final thing I will say about Cancer is this. Imagine you're walking to an airport and there's a person sitting at the table. And the person sitting at the table has a very low self-esteem. Okay?
Mhm.
If the person walking by has low self-esteem, they're very likely to get together because they're sending out subconscious symbols. I'm not going to hassle you. I'm not going to hassle you. I can hide behind you. You can hide behind me. We can have wonderful sex for 2 or 3 weeks. I don't have to deal with anything. You'll deal with it for me and all that. And it blows up after the 2-3 weeks of sex. That's codependency. If the person sitting at the table is codependent and the person walking by is healthy, they will walk by. They'll sense trouble. Even if they're attracted to it, they'll sense trouble, and rightly so. If they both are interacting and they're both healthy, who knows what's going to happen, but you're less likely to have codependency. Finally, I did find, and I don't think this will surprise you at all, hoarders are Cancerian. Hoarding is a Cancerian thing. If I can't have the world and I can't have anything, then I'm going to live in the past. I'm going to have all my booger rags. I'm going to have all my broken ashtrays, all my broken dolly arms, and they won't let go of anything. It's not an intellectual thing. You cannot deal with cancers on the intellect. You can't stand there and reason with them. It's not possible. It's an emotional thing. And it's all got to do with the fear of being abandoned. This is why they have such a need to be reassured. They need to be reassured. Why? Because they need 5 times more reassurance than you do. They just do. They're thinking. You're on with other things. You're a Virgo. You're a Scorpio. You're doing other things. But cancers are trying to survive in the water. So they do an awful lot. They contribute an awful lot to the overall zodiac. Because of them, we end up with feelings. Maybe we wish to God we didn't have them. All right. I'm going to move on to lunations now, unless you have any further questions on the sign of Cancer. Okay. Now, I've written about this. You can find it in my, maybe John, you can dig this up. I found it the other day. It's very easy on my website. Since I can't even log into my own website. That's my virus. If you would publish for them the URL, just look up the word lunations under special documents. There's a very good document, newsletter from several years ago explaining full moons, new moons, eclipses, both types. The reason we get so freaked out about the moon, it's up there in the sky, it's glaring at us, we only see one half of it, we never see the other half, it's shining, it's always up in the air in spooky movies, and then we all think we're so wise. Oh, the ER room's going to be full tonight, all the weird things you're going to have. We have no idea what we're talking about. Some full moons come by, like new moons today. New moons are even more important than full moons, but you don't see a new moon, so it doesn't seem as important. The full moon, the Earth is in the middle. The new moon, the moon is in the middle. There are 4 things that are critical. There's a full moon tonight. Boy, they're busy in the ER room. Last month, during a full moon, nothing happened. We'll wonder what gives. I don't know. They must be crazy. I don't know. Number 1, what sign is the moon in? Tonight's new moon, the moon is in the same place with the sun. Supposedly more babies are born. I have no idea whatsoever. Full moons are triggers. Lunations are triggers. Just like Mars will trigger an event, the moon is rather minor, but the moon will trigger the hour and the minute that something happens. That's what the moon does. If the full moon is in Aries, people will feel like fighting. I'm exaggerating. If the full moon is in Taurus, people will feel like they want to be grounded. They might not notice anything. If it's in Gemini, you may be running around all day doing 6,000 errands. If it's in Cancer, everybody's having a moody time and they're wondering what's going on. That's why I warn you when full moons are in Cancer. If it's in Leo, you're buoyant, you're drinking, you're having fun, you're dancing. If it's in Virgo, everybody stop, go clean house. Everybody stop, go clean house. These are where these moons come from. If it's in Libra, let's socialize. If it's in Scorpio, let's all jump in the sack, etc., etc., etc. So the sign that it's happening in has a lot to do with the mood of the general full moon for the whole planet. So always find that out, but there are two more important things than that. What planet is with it? If the full moon is out there, floating around in the sky, it's all by itself, that's one reason it goes by, nothing happens. If the full moon is happening, remember it's going through the zodiac, just like the planets are. If the full moon is lined up with Pluto, if the full moon is lined up with Uranus, that's when you have crazy time. Because it's not just a full moon, and that's where you have to be so cautious of these writers that are such experts on the full moon, because they don't even take into account the other planets. It's the difference between admiring a baton twirler versus a baton twirler inside an elevator shaft. You think you can twirl a baton? Okay. Let's have you do it in the elevator with 9 people in there. You see the difference? Okay, let me explain to you why. Watch. If the full moon, like we're having now in Taurus, there's no planet in late Taurus right now. Go across, there's no planet in late Scorpio right now. None of the major planets. There's no planet in late Leo. There's none in late Aquarius. So we go like a cross. Taurus to Scorpio to Leo to Aquarius. Now, if that full moon is forming and Mars is sitting there, then you mix the energies. It's Taurus, but there's a tendency to fight. If there's a new moon in the middle of Capricorn right now, there's a new moon when we get to January, okay, or July, when the sun is here and the moon is in Capricorn. And it's lined up with Pluto, which is Pluto sitting at 2019. Pluto's going very slowly through Capricorn. Pluto 2008 all the way to 2023. Pluto's right here now. Well, any full moon that is here or here or here or here is going to trigger the transiting Pluto. So if you've got transiting Pluto sitting on you, sitting on your Mars, sitting on your Mercury, sitting opposite your sun, it's generating a new era. What's come across you? Well, if that, usually when the big planets are on you, you're trying to adjust to it, which means suppress it. Push it down so I can handle the damn thing. Well, usually when the planet goes by a little bit, gets off of a little bit, like Mercury retrograde just ended, we take time to breathe. We want these breathers, but the planet's still around. The era still exists. Well, if the full moon comes along and re-triggers that spot, boom! I thought that issue was done. It's not. Give you an example. Let me give you a good example. Let's say you have Jupiter Let's say you have Jupiter in Virgo. Let's put it right in the middle of Virgo. Well, it's a dichotomy because your Jupiter wants to expand, but Virgo is very picky. Jupiter says, just do it somehow. And Virgo needs, I need to know exactly how. So you got this part of you that's kind of picky, but it really wants to be free. It's really picky, but it wants to be free. So you got this constant thing that you've lived with all your life. Well, if Uranus comes by and Uranus sits in this area, or sits opposite, or sits at a right angle to it, Uranus is trying to get that Jupiter part to start transcending that Virgo limitation. So you've got the Jupiter in Virgo, which is too tentative about going somewhere. I'm going to go, but I got to pack. I got to have 3 pairs of socks, and they have to match. And I have 9 shirts and 2 pairs of pants. You know, you're being too uptight about it. And Uranus has come by, and it's a several-year transit. And Uranus is talking to your Jupiter, and you're starting to feel influenced. You see, the Uranus is not out there. It's your Uranus that's saying, I need to start changing this. I realize this. I want to start being more loosey-goosey, more freedom-loving. And I'm dealing with this, and I'm working with it. Well, if you're dealing with that, and then comes an eclipse on top of it, it's like piling on football players. If an eclipse comes then it goes, boom. My God, I thought that issue was solved. Then you might have a really big issue with a friend calling you, say, well, we wanted to take you, but you're always bitching and complaining, and we're not going to take you. Then you'll say, wonder where that came from. Well, it didn't come from anywhere. It came from you. It's just that you're not working hard at the issue that you need to be. So, the full moon, the lunation, the eclipse, what planet is it with? If there's a lunar eclipse out in the sky, and everybody's, oh, tomorrow did you watch a lunar eclipse? Well, if it's just a lunar eclipse in a certain sign, then you're going to have that energy. But if that lunar eclipse is lined up with another transiting body, Venus, the Sun, Neptune, that's why I've written so many times, don't be fooled by this eclipse. Don't be fooled by this new moon. It's really a Neptunian one. So if it's out there with Neptune, Neptune's going to dominate what the full moon's trying to say. The fourth and final piece of the pie is this. Where is this hitting in your chart? You got the new moon, the full moon. You got what planets are lined up with it. You got where is it hitting? Where is it hitting in your chart? So if you have a natal chart like this, which you see so many times with these politicians, you always see me writing about scandals. There are so many politicians that were born with Neptune right here. Neptune in this area in the 50s. Well, if your Neptune is here, and here comes a full moon over here, nothing happens. You can keep your dirt hidden. Neptune comes over here. You can keep your dirt hidden. But when people have news starting to vibrate about them, stories are starting to be amassed, and the full moon or the eclipse is happening right opposite that Neptune, or the full moon or new moon is happening right with that Neptune in their natal chart, boom, that's when you have the scandal, and you can bank on it. Almost every time when an eclipse hits a person's Neptune, their dirty laundry's going out on the line. Denial, 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 denial. But if the lights, sun and moon are the lights, when the light shines on it, your secrets come out. So therefore, without a doubt, the best way is clean living. And the best way is if you got something to hide, do your best to get it out and solve it, resolve it. You know that. And you all know you can only keep something hidden so long. So that shows you why some full moons are passive, some eclipses are somewhat incidental, other ones are catastrophic. So when you look ahead, and you can type this into any browser, Google, it will tell you when the full moons are. Any calendar will show you this. Astrological calendar. What spot in the zodiac is it happening in? Now, I have studied eclipses for at least 35 years. I cannot tell you much about them. They are so unpredictable, and I welcome the person that can tell me how they work. I've studied them. I've reverse studied them. Everybody likes to talk about it. They know what the eclipse is going to do. Good luck. What I have experienced is this. They shine the light. You feel lucid in your mind. You sit up in bed and go, oh, we are connected. The full moon, if it usually, eclipses usually cause something rather negative to happen, like the day of the eclipse, even a catastrophe the day after. It's very, much in my experience, that you have something untoward happening, and then within a day or two, you see the shining side of it. Things turn better. You start to see, well, damn it, I knew that something had to crack. I knew that something had to crack, and it cracked, and you bitch about it. And after a couple of days, you're kind of glad it cracked. That's what I know. So when you're watching the lunations, mark when they're happening, what sign they're in, what planets are lined up with them, transiting planets, because a full moon is just two transiting planets, and where are they heading in your chart. If it's a politician and it's lined up with their Neptune, bye-bye. So that's what I have to say about the full moon. So there. So, questions? Any questions on this subject? Yeah, Erica, go ahead.
What about the nodes of the moon?
The nodes are very, very complex. I'm not going to get into them. I am not an expert on them. I have seen people do absolute magic with them. They are not a planet. They're a place where something happens. They're supposedly very karmic issues. I personally believe they're so vague that anybody you read the node for, the other 11 signs of the zodiac would agree with. But I have seen people do absolute magic with them. I don't do hardly anything with them.
They do last for 18 months, though, so that's a long period of time before they go into the next sign.
19 months.
19.
Yes, well, if you could explain to me how they work, given what they are, then I'm all ears, and I'm all ears to anybody. I'm just not a nodal fan. Yes, anybody else? Yeah. Patricia.
I've noticed the connections between my nodes and other people's planets or nodes are very strong.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah, I've got
like a karmic connection.
Pluto and Cancer.
Right.
A lot of people wind up with their nodes on that.
For example, my north node is in Pisces.
Okay.
And that means traditionally that the south node is over in Virgo.
Uh-huh.
And that means that in my past, I was very comfortable being judgmental, being very selective, being kind of uptight, and my north node indicates where I need to go to in this life to be more accepting, kinder, etc. Well, I ask you, who can you give that definition to that would say no? Everybody would say it. That's my problem with it. But I have seen many, many people the nodes are the number one thing in their astrological work. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
So I don't poo-poo it. It's just it doesn't ring with me very well.
Yeah.
Other questions, Barbara? Anybody?
I have a question.
Yeah, speak up, please.
Oh, it's Ray?
Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, I've got a question. It sounded like some of your descriptions of Cancer were almost pre-Piscean.
Pre-Piscean. I can speak up for me, honey.
Yeah,
pre-Piscean.
pre-Piscean. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very much pre-Piscean. Yes.
Like kind of like Uranus or Aquarius is kind of like the advanced or evolved form of Gemini in a sense. So kind of like Cancer is sort of like, I see what you're saying.
That's true because
Pisces.
Before Pisces can rest comfortably in the great big ocean of love, of oneness, you have to go way, way, way back to where the soul dips its toe in the water. This is the first time the soul touches water. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, then Cancer. Imagine, you've seen it with animals. A dog goes in the water, a cat, they touch water, they freak out. They can't figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, remember what happens before Cancer. The soul gets its identity in Aries, or somewhat of one. In Taurus, it gets solidified, has things. In Gemini, it gets its mind. And in Cancer, all of a sudden, it's feeling stuff. It's feeling. So what Cancer is really saying is, I don't want this emotional experience to overwhelm me to the point where I get abandoned. That's why they don't trust. It's not malicious. It's because they don't want to be abandoned by it, or washed over by it. And then they project it outward. It's projected to others as, I don't trust you. It's really nothing to do with you. And there's no sign in the zodiac that takes things more personally than Cancer does. Nobody. So it's just a tough stage. It just is. It's not pro-Cancer. It's not anti-Cancer. It's just a tough stage. Marilyn, yes. You are muted.
I wanted to say that I have always felt like, as a water sign, that I was the whole ocean.
Water is the whole ocean, yes.
And I felt like that I am that wholeness of the ocean.
But the difference is this. You can feel that way, opposed to other Scorpios, because you have a T-square to Neptune. Your Neptune is so strong. That's where you get that from. What you're describing is a Neptunian Piscean quality. You've got it because you got an exaggerated Neptune in your chart. It's not coming because of Scorpio. In Scorpio, the ocean or emotion is tied to relationships, the love between two people, between two people, between two people. In Pisces, ask Jessica. In Pisces, it's the love of all things. It's the Walden Pond. It's the leave me alone. I don't even understand it, but I'm out here floating in the water and it feels right and I don't know where to go because it's all so pointless. It's a tough job being a Pisces. So that's the reason, Marilyn.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Now, I'm going to, Karen, are you ready? You are official guinea pig tonight. Are you ready, dear? Okay. Okay, we're going to put this to bed now. I think it was a good discussion about Cancer. Please do not misunderstand me. Cancer is just as marvelous and just as bad as any other sign, but it's a tough sign because somebody in the zodiac had to agree to be the first one to have feelings. And that's a tough job. Yeah. So, when you're with Cancers, you need to give them extra support, extra validation. The best way I have found to deal with Cancer children is the following, without a doubt. Program them. They're programmable. They're sensitive. They get scared when you say something, which means program them. Honey, you can do this. I know you can go downtown and go shop for this stuff and come back on that bus, and you'll be fine. And they're always timid and not sure. But I know, and look what a good job you did. You got to make a big deal out of them. You got to accentuate the growing adult in there, because they're always childlike. They just are. Okay. Good night, all people on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in to Unplugged. And we'll go off and do a personal chart now.